Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I would like to discuss the message that everyone's been talking about from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in her Christmas Day speech. But first, if you'd like to see more of my videos, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So what is this all about? The Queen, of course, has to be politically neutral. Little background into that, it's simply this: the Queen is head of state and is very much involved with daily political life in the UK, but is not herself a part of any of the strands of British government because she's not elected. She's not an elected head of state, and therefore she can't have her own agency. And so she can't make political statements because, you know, you can imagine her saying she's in favour of a particular thing, and then the next government to come along is totally opposed to that thing. Now, there are things she will say she is very much in favour of, but that is also the thing that all political parties in the UK will at least pretend they are in favour with as well, which is, for example, peace and goodwill to all men, very seasonal at the time, but throughout the year. And so what has happened on this particular occasion? Now, I'm going to go back to a previous example where this was done, because what happens is lots of Brexiteers feel that in order to validate their views, they have to point out the great and the good being on their side. And what happened a few years ago now, there was a claim in a British newspaper, which, by the way, is known for straight up lying. There's quite a large section of British media that will mislead, but they won't outright lie. What they will say will be the truth, just not the whole truth, and therefore they'll present it in a misleading way. But there are some sections that will just straight up lie. This particular newspaper just lies, and it said that the Queen had said something indicating her approval for Brexit. So what is the Queen to do about this? Imagine you're in this situation thinking, no, I'm not. This Brexit is the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard of. And you've got to bear in mind as well, the Queen is also effectively a veteran of the Second World War. She was driving, she wasn't on the front lines, but she was driving an ambulance. But the important thing is she lived through it. And we've seen any number of people old enough to remember the Second World War, and particularly those who fought in it, and veterans, all of them utterly dismayed. You don't really see any being trooped out saying how great an idea Brexit is. They're all appalled by the fact that we would ever wish to leave the European Union, this project which has meant that no other generations after theirs have had to defend their homeland in war. Although several others have gone abroad to fight wars elsewhere, but we haven't had to defend our own homeland. And, you know, so you're there, you're the Queen, you're thinking, no, Brexit is an appalling idea. People are saying I'm in favour of it. What to do? I'm not allowed to come straight out and say, that newspaper was lying. I am totally in favour of the EU. And what she did at the Queen's speech with Theresa May as Prime Minister, turned up in an outfit resembling the EU flag, with the hat with the yellow flowers around it, and, you know, like the EU stars on its own flag, as a little hidden message which basically says, no, I think you'll find I am in favour of the EU, and I am in favour of Britain's role within the EU. And so much more recently in the Christmas message, so the Queen's Christmas message is entirely down to her. It's not politicians giving it to her like it is with the Queen's speech. She has just had to deliver a Queen's speech where she's promising that her government will leave the EU. That must have rankled with her somewhat. And so what to do? She has in the past used her Christmas message to basically say, my government are a bunch of dickheads, but in not so many words. It has to be very, very hidden. On this particular occasion, something that I would never have noticed, other people had to notice, is she presented her Christmas message, talking about a difficult year, all the rest of it, with a particular brooch. Now, the brooch has been likened to the EU flag, particularly with the 12 diamonds around the edge of it. That in itself, you could say, oh, that looks a bit like the EU flag. There she's presenting a pro-EU message, but it runs deeper than that, because it's exactly the same brooch she wore many years ago now when she was given a speech to the EU Parliament on the importance of the EU and the importance of the work it does. And so that this brooch has come back for this last Queen's Christmas message that she's ever going to give whilst Britain is a member of the EU, is clearly being carefully chosen. And she's done this before as well. She has sent little messages via brooches and other parts of her outfit in the past as well. And again, making it crystal clear that in no way is she in favour of what is happening right now. And but you know, as forcefully as she is able to do. And then some people, I'm sure some people watching this, okay, well, does it really matter? Yes, we know there's a lot of Brexiteers would like to say the Queen's in favour of it. I personally am not in favour of monarchy, even if it's just a constitutional monarchy. I don't really care what the Queen thinks. There is that, yeah. I understand that a lot of people will think that. And certainly, even I would agree as a monarchist that it doesn't matter what the Queen thinks because she has no licence to go with any of her thoughts anyway. But what it does again indicates, you know, is that if you think about it, who are the people who really believe that Brexit is good for the country, good for the UK? The only people who actually believe that are the people who have been deceived. Those in the know, those who understand the political ramifications, none of them think it's a good idea for the country, which means that all of those who are pursuing it in such a position are doing so because it benefits them personally, benefits their friends. They know it doesn't benefit the country. And that's what, for me, it was a real indicator of, and what it got me thinking of again. It's like, yeah, it's not actually possible to be fully immersed in British politics and believe that leaving the EU is in any way good for the country. You know, they may think it's good for their political beliefs. So Boris Johnson, for example, knows that it's a really good route to complete deregulation of the country, which he believes in, if he believes in anything at all. And so, you know, he will believe it's good for his political beliefs, but not the country. There are people on the left, some in Labour, who want it to happen, not because they think it's good for the country, but again, they think it will allow them to realise their political beliefs. And maybe at some point in, you know, according to Jacob Rees-Mogg, maybe about 40 or 50 years, we might see the benefits. But that's the nearest anyone actually gets to believing it's good for the country. The only people who are full force go, yeah, this is great for us, are those who just simply refuse to accept certain facts. The ones who refuse to believe that Operation Yellowhammer is a prediction of what would happen. The ones who believe Boris Johnson when he says you can have completely different customs arrangements in Northern Ireland and Great Britain, but not have any checks when goods move between them. That sort of thing. But yeah, one thing they will absolutely not be able to say now, because this is now two very clear messages. Whenever anyone was at all pondering whether the Queen was in favour of Brexit or not, that is two clear messages, the only messages she can possibly give, to say, do you know what, I am right in favour of the EU and I am sad that Britain is leaving it. So they will not be able to say that the Queen is on their side in it. If they want to validate their Brexiteer opinions, they're going to have to do so based on what they think it's going to bring us. So anyway, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further. And also please click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.